So without any hesitation, Dan Fowler.
Woo! I have to take my shoes off. It's all right.
We won't be able to see you.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. We doing good? Yes. Refreshed? Yes? Very good. Well, my name is Dan Fowler. I am an imagination engineer. I help people that have that problem of getting their imagination into a succinct, bonifiable, and monetizable item, whatever that item may be, to get it out of their brain and into the world, into the marketplace within their, as Melanie was talking about, genius zones. And I help them draw that out of themselves. So I'm both creative as well as very analytical. I'm kind of split right down the middle when it comes to all of that. So the imagination part is the right brain. Of course, the engineer part in me is that left brain. But together, we can do some magical things together. So I actually got into this whole thing of story writing and rewriting a long, long time ago. I actually learned the hard way, if you will. Writing was not even on my radar until I was 11 years old. At 11 years old, I actually almost died. I was into BMX biking, BMX racing, the jumping off the dirt ramps and all of that good stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? So I was actually hanging out with some of my friends. We weren't on a racetrack at the time, but we found this big dirt pile behind one of the high schools, and we thought, oh, that would be perfect. We want to launch off of that. And of course, there's loose gravel and all sorts of things all around. But we thought, of course, this is perfect. It's safe. Of course, because, we saw the indentations of the big, the digger Dans that beat onto the dirt, and you can see the indentations. But, oh, yeah, not a problem, right? So we're racing back and forth, jumping off of this thing for hours on end, doing just fine. Until it's like the end of the day, it's getting dusk, and I say, I'm going to go for my final run. And I get up my speed, and I'm pumping on my bike, and I take off on that hill, and for whatever reason, didn't happen any of the other times, I hit this divot in the top of this hill. And my front tire hit that, and I just kind of stopped. And almost everything stopped with it. And I endoed. You guys know what that means? Flipped over the front of my handlebars with the handlebars turning this way, hitting me in the gut as I fly head over heels over on the other side of the hill. Now, being 11 years old, I still had a little bit of rubber in me. And I got up really quickly, and it hurt. But I thought, I'm just going to brush it off. Got my bike, got back on. I said, I'm done for the day, a little sore, rode home. And I thought, I'm fine. Didn't think about it again for another 2 weeks. Then I started having this sharp pain in my gut. I'm like, well, that's weird. Why am I having a sharp pain? I totally forgot about jumping off of this hill with my BMX bike. And then the pain would go away. And then a couple weeks later, the pain would come back. And this would be a process for over a couple months. And then the pain, that sharp pain came, and it stayed. And it stayed, and it stayed, and it got worse and worse and worse. And eventually my parents had to take me to the hospital. They're like, we don't know what's going on, take him to the hospital. Bunch of tests, x-rays, MRIs, CAT scans. Doctors didn't know what the heck was wrong with me. Couldn't tell. And I could not tell them, yes, I launched an endoed off of a big hill, because I wasn't thinking about that either. Thought, oh, something's weird going on. Not until later that I actually realized that was what the cause of this was. Doctors didn't know what was going on, and they ultimately told my parents, we're going to have to do exploratory surgery. What that means is that Mr. and Mrs. Fowler, we don't know what the heck is going on with your son. We're going to have to cut him open as big as possible and open him up as big as we can so we can look inside and say, oh, that's wrong. So we got to that point, and luckily, I wasn't told this. My parents were told this, so they're probably freaking out. But they got me into surgery, opened me up, opened me inside and found out that my spleen had been dislodged from its location. Your spleen's about this big, about a half a pound. Mine had dislodged from its location and moved over here and had now swelled up to about over 3.5 pounds. And it was about ready to burst. About ready to burst. And within 20 minutes, if they hadn't gone in for that exploratory surgery, the doctors estimated that it would have burst, and I probably would have died within the next 10, 15 minutes, easy. So they went in there to explore and find all that stuff out. I actually had complications from that first surgery 2 years later. Same symptoms, same everything. I'm like, I'm not BMX biking, what's going on? There was scar tissue buildup from the last one. They had to do exploratory surgery again. Opened me up, figured out what the issue was. It was my intestine, it was blocked. Again, swelling up the way it shouldn't, and it would have burst again. So twice, I almost died, and it died in the hands of the hospital, but I didn't, because I still had some story in me to write. What I didn't realize is that all that energy as a kid, and BMX biking, and doing this, and doing that, and doing the next thing, I couldn't do that anymore while I was recovering. This 2 years of my life was just like, I'm on low key. And during this time, I had to be still. Anybody have a problem with being still? Well, I had a problem with being still because I had a lot of energy. I wanted to do things. I wanted to be in sports, and I couldn't do that. And I had to be still and do stuff at home. I'm thinking, what in the world am I going to do at home? But luckily, I was quiet enough and still enough that I started getting inspiration in the form of writing. I started with poetry. Then I started writing short stories and other stories beyond that. And I found my calling. We talked about, I think Melanie was talking about that genius zone and finding that thing that just lights you up. For me as a kid, I was like, wow, this is it. I have never felt anything like this before when I was writing. And so I actually entered a contest, a short story contest. I was that into it. Went and bought a magazine, found a contest, short story, the whole 9 yards. Submitted this off, and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to submit this. I didn't really care about winning. All I wanted was the story assessment. I wanted to see, do I actually have the goods? Right? I was a weird kid. I wasn't worried about the trophies or anything like that. I wanted to know, am I as good as I think I am? So I'm waiting, checking the mail every day, and then finally the mail comes, and here's the results to this contest, and of course, my story assessment. And that's what I really wanted to hear. I didn't win the contest, but I pulled out the story assessment, and I started reading through, and they're giving me high marks on a bunch of things like plot and character and setting and dialogue, and then they get to grammar and syntax. Now, mind you, I'm, 13 years old, so I have 13-year-old grammar syntax. And they're bashing me. They're like really reading the riot act. And I'm like, why in the world are they being so mean? I read it a few times, I couldn't figure it out. And I showed this to my mother, and I said, Mom, look at this. I don't know why they're being so mean to me. And so she read it. Then she had to read it again. And she says, Dan, do you have the original magazine or the clipping for this contest? Sure, it's in my room. I went and grabbed it, brought it back out. She looked at the contest, looked at the assessment, and realized, Dan, this contest is for adults. And she said to sit me down, and she says, I want you to realize something right now, because this is a momentous occasion. And I didn't realize the impact until way later, but now that I look back on it, it has changed my life. She said, Dan, the 4 areas that you got high marks in are things that people go to school for years and years and years. Plot, setting, character, dialogue. And the one area that you stunk at was grammar and syntax. And because they think you're an adult. They think that because you can do all 4 of those other things, that you must be an adult with skill and have gone to school. So how dare you write in grammar and syntax that's from a 13-year-old? And at that moment I realized, oh, I can write. And if all I need to do is learn grammar and syntax, piece of cake. So that's kind of where I started from with this whole writing item, and started writing stories, and from fiction stories, more poetry, also screenplays. I've written 28 feature-length screenplays, had 4 of them optioned by major Hollywood studios, and I started liking this whole idea of creating something and then bringing it to fruition as well. Meaning, I started my company, Red River Productions, which is an audio-video media production company, about 20 years ago. It's because the biggest reason why I started was because I wanted to see what I wrote to be able to be translated out into the real world in film. And now I help clients and entrepreneurs bring those things to life as well. And now I'm on this new journey with myself that I've had a lot of ups and downs. Business is good, business is bad. But because of my past and some of the things that I have either written in my past or wasn't willing to rewrite in my past, I got hung up and stuck like this. And thank God I met Siobhan, because she was able to rattle me just enough to say, remember your gifting, remember who you are, and there are tools and techniques to get you to the place where you need to go. So I'm going to share some of this journey with you in the next few minutes. Does that sound good to you? Yeah. All right, awesome. Okay. There's going to be some times throughout this, you're going to see screens like this with a big word on the top, and I want you to take a minute and write this word down, because I want you to let it seep into your soul. This first word is birthright, and I want to spend a few minutes on this. I use this word a lot lately. It's a word that comes to me quite frequently, came to me at a retreat, because it's something that I have ignored for quite some time with myself. My birthright. I am a believer that we are all firstborn of the universe. Let me say that again. We're all firstborn of the universe. There is no, in the old days, whether medieval times or even back in biblical times, if you were the firstborn male, that's who got all the inheritance and all the land. You know what I'm talking about? Yes, it still happens today. Of course it does. And of course, the secondborn or the women, they didn't get anything. And there was I heard that equilibrium thing earlier between male and female energies, and total in agreement with that. Birthright, though, is when it comes to our spiritual and our energetic selves, birthright is for all of us. We are the firstborn of the universe, and we have a birthright. Amen. We have an inheritance that is built up for us. We need to be able to tap into it. Siobhan has been showing you things this weekend that are going to help you tap into the birthright that you may have forgotten that you had, or maybe you kind of pushed it off to the closet and got some dust on it. This weekend's about getting the dust off so you can actually activate your birthright. So let's talk about some things when it relates to story, because I found that with story, not only is it great with writing stories, but it is a great parallel to our own lives. We hear this, what's the story that you're in? But it's not just about the story you tell, it's the story you write. Not only on paper, but in your life. The things that you can write and rewrite. And one of the things that I was able to do well in my assessment was plot. And from my plot standpoint, we have a plot line in our lives. Do we not? Yes? And can that plot line change over time? Yes. Can that plot line be altered at will? Yes. Yeah. Here's a point for you. Anybody imagine when they were a kid, boy or girl, about that once upon a time? Maybe being a princess or being a knight in shining armor? Yes? We all want once upon a time. And we all once believed in this happily ever after, yes? But unfortunately, we start writing our stories as we get older like this. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and guess what? At the end of our stories, what happens? Our Death Star blows up. And that's how we tend to write our stories, huh? Like we've gone away from once upon a time and happily ever after because that's not possible anymore. Our container has shrunk, as Siobhan puts it. And we think that, disaster's around every corner. And something's going to blow up because it just does, right? And we need to shift how we think about that. Not only think about that, but how we write and rewrite the way we perceive our stories. Does that make sense? How we write and rewrite the way we perceive our stories. So here's another big word to write down. Endowment. Who can give me a definition of what endowment means? What does it mean to you? Anybody? Entitled. Okay, what else? Blessing. Like that word. What else?
Something that is passed on that is there for future generations.
Good. I like that a lot. What else? Gifting. Is that what you said? Gifted. Good. Endowment, meaning it's already pre-prepared for you, right? Remember, we're the firstborn of the universe. We have a birthright, and part of that birthright is our endowment. These are our gifts, what we're passionate about. What do we love doing? What is our genius zone? What value and worth do we bring to the world in a very powerful and magnificent way? That's our endowment. But it tends to be locked in one of those keepsake boxes, and we lost the key a long time ago. Yeah? That endowment wants, there's some power there. There's a lot of power there. And we tend to have it locked behind closed doors, the key's lost, and we don't know what to do. We need to get the crowbar. And Siobhan, in a lot of ways, can be direct with her tools and techniques, but Siobhan was the tool that I needed. It was the crowbar that I needed to start breaking open my endowment that I had lost access to a long time ago. Setting. You guys know what setting is in a story or a script line, right? What is setting? Environment. What else? Where it takes place. Okay. What's around me? Here's something else that it is. Setting is the setting that we are set to. So not only is it our environment, yes, but we heard this pre-programming stuff. We're programmed. We have our past story. Well, we get our button caught in a certain position, and it kind of sticks there. You've ever had a sticky remote button that it gets stuck on one channel and it just kind of, you can't get off of there, and it constantly goes back? That's what this is. It can be this. Your setting is not only your environment around you, what's outside of you, but what also is inside of you. The setting that you are at. And Siobhan is helping us reset ourselves, reset our energetic selves. So we get stuck in this endless rut. Don't you feel that like sometimes? Oh, why is it the same thing over and over again? Why does this always happen to me? We've all said that from time to time. It's because we haven't been able to have the tools and techniques to reset ourselves. We can't see the forest for the trees. You guys have heard that? Probably said it about other people too. The reason why you can't see the forest for the trees is that you are so clouded by your, well, she says it, the poopy energy, right? You are stuck in this like mess. And of course you can't see anything in front of you, behind you, around you. How in the world can you actually manifest forward if you are stuck in this mess? You can't. And I love this one. We get so comfortable sitting in our syndicated reruns. Yeah. Over and over and over again. Same channel, same show, over and over and over again. And we don't change the channel. We don't change the programming. We are so stuck in that syndicated rerun that we can't turn off the television. We can't turn off that programming. And again, Siobhan is here to reset us, to help us be able to do this not only here, but out there as well. This is part of rewriting your story, is understanding all of the elements of a story, not only in a written form, but in your life as well, because then you can go back and adjust them. There is no story out there, novel, script, or otherwise, that has been written and then, oh, magically it's perfect the first time. I have never seen it, ever. It's always like, oh, that's good, but let's rewrite this. Let's tweak with this until it gets to the point where the flow, ever heard of the flow of the story? The flow of your story is how are you energetically moving from point of greatness to point of greatness. And that's the story we're writing here. Do you ever feel like that? I do sometimes. This is the endless rut. Spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning, and you can't stop it because you're so sick and you're so disorientated of where the heck you are. Ever feel that way? I do. I did. And I do from time to time. It pops up, but before Siobhan, I was constantly on that merry-go-round, just being spun around going, I'm going to use sheer willpower to get off of my merry-go-round. Well, you all know what happens when you do that. You lose your balance and you fall flat on your face. And I did, many times, because I'm a stubborn kind of guy, so I have to train myself over and over of face planting before I get it. But that doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to be stuck in that rut. The next piece here is character. Character. So what's character all about? Anybody? Who's yours person? I like that. Physical description. What else? What you stand for. I love that. What was that? Values. Fantastic. Very good. Here's something that we forget, though, is it's not just about what's out there. It's we need to be the main character in our story. And a lot of us abdicate our power, our authority, and our sovereignty to other people, other things, other situations. We give it up. We chuck our birthright. And we choose not to be the main character, the star of our story. We let other people take those roles and we become a glorified extra in our own story. Ever feel like that? I sure have. You need to not go there. You are the main character in your story. You do have a powerful birthright, and you have an endowment and inheritance that is ready for you to use right now. We get to choose our supporting characters. I love this. This is not only the people who are in our lives, but also all the other situations that are in our lives too, and how we energetically connect with them. We get to choose those supporting characters. Those supporting characters better be there to support what? The main character. That's us. And if we're not having that supportive, connective arrangement going on, then all they're doing is pulling us down to that extra level. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be an extra in my own life. Do you? No. So say that with me. I do not want to be an extra in my own life. Absolutely. And if you feel that way, you can change this. You can rewrite your story to change and reshape your life. But you got to understand where it's coming from first and use tools and techniques that Siobhan is providing you this weekend to start getting out of those energetic ruts. Last one there, character development becomes fun. Becomes fun. Not only the character development of the people around you, but of yourself. You are able to change the way you are perceiving your environment because you are no longer the extra behind the painted tree. You are now center stage, taking on, having all the lines and all the dialogue and all of the other connective stuff with all the other stars because you're taking the rightful place that you need to be in your own story. Don't take the extra position. Don't do that. Character is important, not only with you, but also with others. This is great here. Be the best possible version of yourself. Do not settle. Do not settle. And in your story, in your script that's called your life, you need to be the best possible version of yourself. Stand where you need to be as the main character, not as the extra. Or else the things that we are here for, we're wanting those breakthroughs so I can get my voice out to the world and get my vision out to the world. Yes, that's never going to happen from the extra standpoint. You are not going to get the lines. The director's never going to see you, and the director is source, universe. Make sure you're stepping into the role that you were destined to play. All right, write this word down. Dragon. Probably thinking, what the heck is that? What are some ideas that come to your mind when you see this image and see that word? powerful, fierce, magical, fire breathing, mysterious. How about dangerous? Scary? Driven? Well, this dragon is part you and part not you. It's both. Your dragon is you. You know, some people call them your demons. Yeah? I call them dragons. I like the fairy tale stuff because it paints very colorful stories and images so you can understand things. The dragon is you. Your demons are you. If you noticed today, the energetic stuff, it's what are you bringing to the table? How are you expanding your container? It's about your energetic alignment. Your dragon is you, and you are your dragon. And I'm going to share with you a metaphor analogy here. Maybe this will give you a better image of how I perceive your dragon, your demons to be. Let me ask you this. That projector right there on that table, if I were to pick up that projector and start running towards that wall, what would happen to this image of the dragon? It would get huge. Huge. 3-4 times that size. Yes? That is what we do to our dragons when we get scared and fearful and worry and we start running away from them. We are projecting our own dragons out there energetically. And when we run from them, they become so ominous and so huge that we think, oh, I can't defeat my dragon. They're too huge, too scary. Now, in the reciprocal, let me ask you this. If I took that same projector, picked it up, and I came towards the screen, what would happen? It would become cute. I like that. It would become small. And if I got right up to the screen, what would happen? It would disappear. It would blur into nothingness, that dragon, because we are facing it and we are moving forward. You know when Siobhan was saying, pick that vision and go? What is stopping us is our own demons and our own dragons. And we hightail it, and then we perceive that the things around us are out to get us, and they're too big for us to conquer. And it is not so. You can rewrite this part of your story. This is how you can reshape your life. You can go and defeat your dragon. You just have to stand up to it and walk towards it. Because your dragon is you, and you are your dragon. And the last piece, dialogue. What comes to mind when you hear the word dialogue? What was that? Conversation. Mind chatter. That's good. What else? What? Communication. Fantastic. I call it voice. Connection. Yes. This is where you find your voice, your dialogue. When you are able to have a great character ensemble, you understand where you are as the main character in your own story you call life, your dialogue and your voice starts to come. If you are the extra in your life, your voice will never show up. The mission and vision that you have will never show up because you're not energetically aligned with your birthright of where you need to be, and that is at the center stage and the main character of your own life. Make sense? So here it is. Your voice and our voice is supported by our ensemble. That's the rest of our cast, the rest of the characters that we get to handpick of our settings and our cast. The whole ensemble, we have control over the entire thing. Just like with a script, different locations, different characters saying different things, special effects here, not special effects there. The script writer has control over all of that. You cannot have a good film unless you have a great script. Agreed? And it's the exact same thing when it comes to life. You cannot have a great life story unless you have your script dialed in. And it's not a one-time shot. You can go back and rewrite sections that aren't working, that aren't flowing. There's tools that I provide as well as Siobhan on how to navigate that, clear that energy, and then helpfully replace it. I'm the one that I'm bringing the new stuff in and rewriting that story where need be. Dialogue becomes a vehicle for our plot. So our plot line that we call our life, instead of being in this constant loop cycle, we can actually move forward because now we've chosen great characters. We have broken our settings and changed our environment, and now we're able to talk at a higher level, communicate energetically at a higher level. And our dialogue becomes the vehicle that our plot can take us on from here. A lot of us are stuck in those syndicated reruns in the past, therefore we can't be in the present, and if we're not in the present, there is no way that we can manifest into the future. Zero. We have to be able to rewrite that sequence so we're not in this constant cycle of craziness, right? So dialogue for me is not just communication. I loved what you guys said, but they're actually puzzle pieces. You are connecting with other like-minded individuals, and when you have an ensemble that you are the main cast character of, you start filling in all these puzzle pieces that we're missing, that are missing right now, energetically. And as you see these connective sources from a puzzle standpoint, from a energetic standpoint, however you want to imagine it, this is when things start to become easy. Because then you can see the story before it happens. You can say, oh, this is where I want to go. This is what I want my main character to experience. And you can start writing that into your life story. Sound good? Sounds really good. And Siobhan is the starting point for a lot of that. I was stuck in my own story. My parents told me that writing and being creative and all of that, that's not a real job. You don't want to do that. Get your head out of the clouds, Dan. And luckily, I didn't listen. But I have to tell you, there are some pre-programmed ideas. Even though I got into the creative arts field, I still held myself back because I still believed that writing was a hobby and could not be a job. That media production, anything creative, could not be my job. I couldn't do it. Here's another word to write down. Mentor. All of this stuff I'm talking about, and Siobhan's here too. The reason I bring it up is because Siobhan is my mentor. Siobhan has helped me see things clearly, seen my own story, my own plot line clearly. And I help other people the exact same way, just with my genius zone when it comes to rewriting your story, to reshape your life. I help people take that to the next level, and mentor is so, so important. If you do not have a mentor in your life, you need to get one. Mentors know more than you do, and they have probably gone through the trials and tribulations of battling their own dragons so they can help you out when you're battling yours. And just I'm going to take a couple minutes here. I'm going to ask David Hurd to come on up here. He's actually going to share with you why a mentor is important. David, right here, David, right here.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm David Hurd. I'm the president and founder of Love Flags. I help and assist family members become closer and stay connected throughout generations for a lifetime. I met Dan in San Diego in November, and it was like a 3-day seminar, and we kept passing each other by, but there was something about him, and we kept looking at each other and so forth. Then 3 days pass. We get to the end of the seminar, and when they were closing the doors and so forth, and we passed again, almost brushing shoulders, and we said, you know what, let's just sit down and talk. And Dan said, tell me your story. And I told him my story, and I got a little bit emotional about it because this story, or my story, is very emotional. That's how I got to start my business because of this. So Dan and I agreed to meet a little later, and he says, I like your story, you have something here, you have a business. He says, tell me how you're going to do your business. And I go, well, I'm going to do this, I've got the stats, and I know the market, and such and such, and so and so. He says, no, tell me how you're going to do your business. And I just like, what? I was just kind of dumbfounded because I come from the corporate world, which isn't a bad thing. But I did not understand how to put my story together. I was just going to go, well, I'm going to meet this person, I'm going to talk about this, go talk about that.
Well, David, you were talking, he went right to his product.
Yes,
He
I
said, tell me
did.
about your business. He went right to his product. And then we said it again, he went right to his product. And I said, well, so how do you connect with people? Where's the sales from? All that stuff. And after a while, we realized, or David realized, that he was not able to connect with his clients because he didn't understand how to connect his story to his business. It's not just his personal story, but he's also crafting a story for his clients. That's what sales are born out of story. And so that's kind of where we ended up. It was a 15-minute conversation.
Correct.
And I think I told you things that you had never heard before.
Yes, you did. And it just blew me away because I never had thought of those things before, how to put those things together. And it suddenly dawned on me that I just felt like I didn't know what I was doing. How am I going to do a business when I don't know the plot and the proper stories and the proper way to go to talk to you or an audience, whether they're your corporations or businesses or individuals? How do I emotionally connect to you with the right story in the right sequence? Mm-hmm. That's where Dan came in.
Thank you, David. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you, David. The reason why I brought David up here is because mentorship, David was trying to do it all himself. Not that there's anything wrong with getting out there and doing it yourself, but he was stuck in a rut. His story was, I'm going to tell you all about my product, and you're just going to magically be emotionally connected to it. He's laughing because that's true. And unfortunately, as business owners, we tend to do the exact same thing. We go right to our benefits and listings, and why is it so awesome, and here's the price. Now, why aren't you buying? It's because there's no trust equity being built. And what I've been walking you through here today is how you build trust equity, not only with yourself and your life, but with the clients that you're going to be able to serve. So having a mentor is extremely, extremely important. So guys, plot, setting, character, and of course, dialogue. These are the 4 major elements of any story. And if you do not have these mastered when it comes to your life, then your story is going to have holes in it. You're going to get maybe written out of your own story and be an extra in the background. And no one wants that. You know why it's so hard to get that leading role is because you gave it up. You gave it up. Let's not do that at all. What David was talking about here too, I actually offer a course. We're actually doing a 3-day intensive right here in Phoenix, Arizona in September. Kel Horton back there at the back of the room, he's got a bunch of forms for this. Normally my intensives, they're 3 days and they go for $3,000 a pop. But there is a special price just for you guys. Kel's got that back there with you. He can find out more about that. Also, the first 5 people that do sign up with Kel for the 3-day intensive, I am also going to give you a VIP day, which is an exclusive whole day with me, one-on-one exclusive, to go through this stuff when it comes to your business and really craft the perfect story that you can give to your clients, not only verbally, but through email, through video, through audio, through blog posts, through live presentations. The story is the same. And I will give that VIP. Normally that's a $10,000 VIP day. And the first 5 people that do sign up for this intensive that's going to be here in Arizona, I'm going to give it to you complimentary. So those, and if you aren't in those top 5, you can still come to the seminar that we're having, the 3-day intensive here in September. I would love to have you. So without further ado, let me jump to this last. I would love to connect with you, even if you don't come to the intensive back here in September. I would love to communicate with you after tonight. I will be here the entire weekend if you want to learn more about how to rewrite your story, to reshape your life, because I believe that happiness in your life and in your business is only a rewrite away. So thank you very much.